I'm Dean Walker, and welcome to the Poetry of Predicament podcast, a podcast for people brave enough to face humanity's challenges and problems, and most importantly, our numerous predicaments. The Poetry of Predicament is a podcast meant to inspire us to bring forth grace, beauty, and connection with the web of life in the face of a predicament-laden world. In this episode, the USA gets schooled by a man from Colombo, Sri Lanka. America, it turns out, is already in collapse by any measure from anyone who's been through collapse. Let's listen. Hey there. This is Dean Walker in the Poetry of Predicament podcast. Good to have you here. This is just a kind of out of context, random share from an article that I found really moving and real and clear and important for us to hear in the USA, where we have so little reference for what it really is to have a political collapse going on. And there are voices from other countries, some who now live in the States, some who don't, but that are bringing this kind of recent memory of their going through this kind of experience and offering it up to those who will listen here in the USA. And in hopes that we might realize that we are in collapse now. This is not something that's waiting to happen or imminent or far off on the horizon or some sort of conspiratorial mishmash. This is happening now. So I wanted to share this with you and hope you find it as valuable and as clear and even inspiring in a way as I did. So I'm going to get it all lined up here to read to you. And so here we go. I lived through collapse. America is already there. How life goes on, surrounded by death. This is by Indi Samarajiva on September 25th here on Medium. Of course, the fairly well-known site where so many different authors publish. So let's go. I lived through the end of a civil war. Do you know what it was like for me? Quite normal. I went to work, I went out, I dated. This is what Americans don't understand. They're waiting to get personally punched in the face while ash falls from the sky. That's not how it happens. This is how it happens. Precisely what you're feeling now. The numbing litany of bad news, the ever-rising outrages, people suffering, dying, and protesting all around you, while you think about dinner. If you're trying to carry on while people around you die, your society is not collapsing. It's already fallen down. What life was like for me, and this is a title above a series of photographs that scroll by for the reader. I was looking through some old photos for this article, and the mix is shocking to me now, almost offensive. There's a burnt body in front of my office. Then I'm playing Scrabble with friends. There's bomb smoke rising in front of the mall. Then I'm at a concert. There's a long line for gas. Then I'm at a nightclub. This is all within 2 weeks. Today I'm like, did we live like this? But we did. I mean, I did. Was I a rich Columbo fuckboy while poorer people died? Well, yes, I wrote about it, but who cares? The real question is, who are you? I mean, you're reading this. You have the leisure to ponder American collapse like it's even a question. The people really experiencing it already know. So I'm telling you, as someone who's been there in similar shoes to yours, this is it. America has already collapsed. What you're feeling is exactly how it feels. It's Saturday and you're thinking about food while the world is on fire. This is normal. This is life during collapse. Just read what it says on the tin. Life, now with 20% more death. Collapse does not mean you're personally dying right now. It means y'all are dying right now. Death is sometimes close, sometimes far away, but always there. Usually for someone else, but someday randomly for you. I used to judge those herds of gazelle when the lion just eats one of them alive and everyone keeps going. But no, humans are just like that. That's the real meaning of herd immunity. We're fundamentally immune to giving a shit. It honestly becomes mundane for the privileged. As Columbo kids, we used to go out, worry about money, fall in love. It all went on. We'd pop the trunk for a bomb check, turn off our lights for the air raids. I'm not saying that we were untouched. My friend's dad was killed, just gone with a landmine. Rest in peace, Uncle Nihal. I know people who were beaten, arrested, went into exile, but that's not what my photo stream looks like. It was mostly food and parties and normal stuff for a dumb 20 something. If you're waiting for a moment where you're like, this is it, I'm telling you, it never comes. Nobody comes on TV and says things are officially bad. There's no launch party for decay. It's just a pileup of outrages and atrocities in between friendships and weddings, and perhaps an unusual amount of alcohol. Perhaps you're waiting for some moment when the adrenaline kicks in and you're fighting the virus or fascism all the time, but it's not like that. Life is not a movie, and if it was, you're certainly not the star. You're just an extra. If something good or bad happens to you, it'll be random and no one will care. If you're unlucky, you're a statistic. If you're lucky, no one notices you at all. Collapse is just a series of ordinary days in between extraordinary bullshit, most of it happening to someone else. That's all it is. One ordinary day. One day I was at work when someone left a bomb at the bag check and at no limit. It exploded, killing 17 people who were out shopping. I experienced this as the phone lines getting clogged for an hour. My wife experienced it as well. A bomb. It was 500 meters from her house. 17 families experienced it as the end, and their grief goes on. As you can see, this is not a uniform experience of chaos. For some people, it destroys their bodies, others, their hearts. But for most people, it's just a low-level hum at the back of their minds. What's that buzzing sound you hear now? Today, I assume you went to work. Bad news was everywhere, clogging up your social media, your conversations. Maybe it struck close to you. I'm sorry. Somewhere in your country, 1,000 people died. I'm sorry for each of them. 1,000 families are grieving tonight. 1,000 more join them every day. The pain doesn't go away. It just becomes a furniture of bones in 1,000 homes. As a nation, you don't seem to mourn your dead, but their families do. Their communities do. Jesus also weeps. But for most people, it's just another day. You've run out of coffee. There's a funny meme. This can't be collapse because nothing's collapsing for me. But that's exactly how collapse feels. This is how I felt. This is how millions of people have felt, including many immigrants in your midst. We're trying to tell you as loud as we can, you can get out of it, but you have to understand where you are to even turn around. This, I fear, is one of many things Americans do not understand. You tell yourself American collapse is impossible. Meanwhile, look around. In the last 3 months, America has lost more people than Sri Lanka lost in 30 years of civil war. If this isn't collapse, then the word has no meaning. You probably still think of Sri Lanka as a shithole, though the war ended over a decade ago and we're relatively fine. Then what does that make you? America has fallen. You need to look up at the people you're used to looking down on. We're trying to tell you something. I have lived through collapse and you're already there. Until you understand this, you only have further to fall. Indi Samarajiva, and I'll include the link for this Medium article in the show notes. Thank you for watching with the Poetry of Predicament.